Public service announcement, it is your last chance to register for the Culling Games 2.0, aka our custom curse technique tournament. The tournament where you create your very own curse technique and go up against others that have done the same thing. Again, this is our second one, so our first one wrapped up. It was a huge success, and this one is bigger, better, and all that jazz. But submissions to enter end in about 2 hours from the posting of this video, so there is not much time left. If you need the rules, you need to figure out what to do. All of that is covered in the Discord, which you can find in all of the bios and probably in the comment section, depending on where you're watching. So first and foremost in this video, time is running out. If you wanted to participate, go sign up right now. So with that out of the way, here we have our Game Master, aka Crushing Blow from the Discord. It was his original idea to have the first Culling Games, this first custom tournament. And again, that was a success. So here we are launching the second one. But before we got there, he wanted to reward the original winner of the Culling Games with a video highlighting their custom curse technique. But also, in addition to that, he wanted to highlight another custom curse technique as well from Spooky, just because they were a huge help during the first Culling Games. So let's get into it. All right, so first up, let's talk about the curse technique that emerged victorious out of the first Culling Games, and that is Sacrilegious Seamstress, created by 16 Angels. And picture unrelated, it's just one I've chosen to fit the vibe. And the general overview of this technique is that it allows the user's cursed energy or foreign cursed energy to be manifested as thread for the user, gaining the power of linekinesis, aka thread manipulation. And they have the option of weaving, cutting, restricting, or unraveling any and all phenomena of cursed energy through delicate movements of the body and when certain conditions are met. The strength of this curse technique is entirely dependent on the strength, will, and creativity of the user. The curse technique itself is manifested through user imagination and is black in colorization, the properties of which can be increased by output. Alright, so the typical use of this curse technique involves creating and manipulating these threads. However, the reversal involves infusing the threads with positive cursed energy, which then grants the user the ability to break away opposing cursed energy, allowing them to add it to their own reserves. Now, 16 Angels has put a lot of thought into the various applications and extensions of this technique, which I highly recommend you check out on the full Discord post. But a couple of examples are they are able to create weapons out of the things they weave with this thread, but also cursed dolls that pretty much function as little puppets that you can give different assignments to. The wielder of Sacrilegious Seamstress also has the option to literally stitch themselves to an ally via this thread, and in so doing will start a duet where the other person gets a bonus to their output and can use some of the curse technique themselves. 16 Angels also goes on to describe the maximum version of this technique, which is a black flower that will sprout from their right eye socket. And basically, while this flower is active, the technique is increased beyond its maximum limit, and it gives the user the ability to turn into thread themselves, and they can even unravel and go into the flower to retreat. And then they can cause the flower and themselves to reappear within any source of thread in a 300-meter radius and completely regenerate their body from thread if destroyed. However, the black flower itself and the user will not heal from any damage inflicted upon them in its duration. And finally, we have the domain expansion, which can take two forms depending on if this black flower is active or not. If it is active and the domain is cast, the user will act as the center of the domain. When activated without it, the black flower will sprout from underground and act as the center itself. In the domain, all cursed energy within it is consumed by the black flower, and any opponents that are within are restrained, with their neck tied up in a noose made of thread that cannot be destroyed. And while under this noose, rather than their cursed energy being able to be manipulated and unraveled, these abilities instead extend to the opponent themselves, with their body in a state of perpetual motion from the ebb and flow of being turned into thread. This allows the user to manipulate the opponent themselves as thread, with the thread made from this opponent holding the same properties as when they were alive, all the way down to their curse technique. This gives the user the option of stockpiling and using the opponent's curse technique with the thread that was made from their body, the power of which is capped at the opponent's reserves when they were alive. Thread made from the bodies of opponents are deep red and purple in color, based on whether it's a cursed spirit or a living being. Thread made this way, however, is permanently lost when destroyed. And that is the gist of Sacrilegious Seamstress, our winner of the first Culling game. So shout out to 16 Angels and congratulations again. And also go check out this post on the Discord because there is way more depth than what I was able to get into here. 16 Angels goes into extreme detail about how all of these things work, and it's really cool. Next up, Crushing wanted me to give an honorable mention out to Spooky and their curse technique, Sovereign Scholar. But before we can dive into the technique itself, we need to talk about a custom inherited trait that Spooky made up called Solipsistic Overmind. So think of this like the Six Eyes, something that needs to be paired with a curse technique in order to fully utilize it, like the Six Eyes and the Limitless, right? So what this inherited trait is essentially allows the user that has it to perceive a literal representation of themselves in the current moment, which comes in the form of a unique and infinitely fractal sphere which exists in all people behind their eyes and serves the purpose of reflecting objective reality into understandable truth. So yeah, that's a lot, right? But basically you think about it as this person has that unique ability to see that within everyone else. So this is galaxy brain stuff, but to boil it down very simply, what this allows them to do is when paired with cursed energy, they are able to use this to gain a temporary understanding of absolute reality, basically galaxy brain stuff. In addition to this, when they touch someone else, they are able to gain an unparalleled understanding of that person. All right, so with that out of the way, we can talk about the curse technique itself, Sovereign Scholar. And basically the passive effect of this technique is that any information the user stores in their brain is infused with cursed energy, transforming it into cursed knowledge. This grants the user perfect recall and removes the cap on how much information can be stored within their brain. So the basic use of this technique is basically the control over this cursed knowledge, and the extension of it is to wield this cursed knowledge and even form it into things. However, if you are going to form it into a physical form, then it must be collected by an idea. So some concept that strings this knowledge together in order to actually wield it. When knowledge that has been weaponized in such a way is then used against an opponent, the knowledge contained within the weapon is compared to the knowledge the opponent has about that idea. And if the opponent knows less than the idea, then they will take extra psychic damage proportional to how much they don't know, down to not having any knowledge on the topic, which then deals double damage on the strike. Then the reverse of this technique builds upon that concept, and the reverse basically transforms cursed knowledge into divine knowledge, which will basically make any physical damage done by the psychic damage I just referenced instead damage the opponent's mind itself, and depending on the complexity, could perhaps even erase concepts from their brain entirely. The domain expansion for this technique is called Trivia Gambit, and its sure hit effect imposes non-violence to all participants within the domain. And inside, it just looks like a dimly lit basement with a table, and everyone inside is placed at this table and given 10 cards. They are to write 10 questions on each of the cards, and then you'll basically go around asking questions. If you get one wrong, you take equivalent to the maximum effect of that psychic damage I was talking about earlier. Spooky also created the reversal of this domain expansion, which this sure hit effect places an iron muzzle on the opponent's face and electricity shocks them every 5 seconds, removing a random concept from their brain each time it does. And that is the gist of Sovereign Scholar, which I feel like I need to get a PhD in fully understanding this one. It is truly galaxy brain. So of course, I recommend you guys go check out the Discord and read it yourself because it goes more in depth and explains it far better than I am here. Alrighty, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. And again, if you want a chance to participate in the second Culling Games, you have less than 2 hours to get in your application. Again, hit the Discord. You'll be able to find all of the information there. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.